This is Beyond the Game on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I am Jacob Volk, sitting across from me, Dominic Arbolino and Eric Fischetti. Guys, what's good?
It is Friday.
Snowing.
It is Friday the 15th, and Giancarlo Stanton is still a Yankee. So all is good in the world.
They haven't flipped into the Orioles for Manny Machado yet.
I don't think it's going to happen.
By the way, I was listening on Tuesday, and I agree with you. I really think Manny Machado could be a Yankee.
Well, the rumor is now that the Orioles don't want to trade Machado to a team that's going to flip him to the Yankees.
And the biggest team in that rumor was the White Sox.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that would work, but...
Number to call if you have something on your mind is 516-572-7440. At about 3:15, we'll be airing an interview with Scott Ferkovich, the author of Motor City Champs, Mickey Cochrane, and the 1934 to 1935 Detroit Tigers. Right after that, we'll be giving away some Long Island Net tickets. You're going to want to stay tuned for that. But we got to start with baseball. The Mets signed Anthony Swarzak to a 2-year deal worth $14 million last year for the White Sox and Brewers. He went 6-4 with a 2.33 ERA. Dominic, what are your thoughts on the deal?
I mean, it's something that the Mets definitely needed, which was relief pitching. So I think it's a good deal in terms of, like, with money. You know, it's only 2 years, $14 million is honestly not that much nowadays, which is kind of scary to say. But, you know,
it's pocket change. But
the stats are there, too. I mean, 6-4, you know, it's not the best, but it's not awful. And 2.33 ERA is something, you know, that pops out on you. So in terms of with relief pitching, and looking at, I know we're going to be talking about it right after, but Brian Shaw, you know, this is a cheaper option than Brian Shaw. And with the stats, too, as well. I mean, you know, Swarzak wins. So
can I just interject really quick on this Yankee legend, by the way? Because, he was on the Yankees.
Was the Yankee last calendar year.
Apparently, the stats that you just saw is a breakout year for him. Honestly, is terrible if that's the case. But, you know, then again, it is a cheaper option. The Mets needed the bullpen help. I personally did think that they were going to get Brian Shaw. But, you know, obviously, the Aldersons don't like to spend money, and it was a cheaper option. But, you know what? The Mets put a check next to a need that they honestly needed, which was the bullpen help. It's not the biggest name out there, but it's something that they really needed.
Yeah, well, the Mets have pretty much been just like stomped down to the bottom with all the moves the Yankees are doing. They don't even get noticed right now, so it's like, I mean, it's understandable. I mean, when you acquire Giancarlo Stanton and all that stuff, I mean, you know, it's going to happen. And I mean, the Yankees were already at the top after this season, so.
Oh my God! And now Garrett Cole or Michael Fulmer or Patrick Corbett
and Zach Greinke too has been.
Yeah, that has been thrown out there.
I don't think that would happen.
I don't think the Diamondbacks are going to trade Greinke. I think that's wishful thinking. Dominic, you hit on it earlier. The Rockies signed Brian Shaw to a 3-year deal worth $27 million last year for the Indians. He went 4-6 with a 3.52 ERA. What do you think of the deal?
Now, this is a guy that actually made the most appearances of any pitcher in the big leagues last year, like this past year. And he's going to a Rockies team that made it to the playoffs, but, you know, lost to the Diamondbacks in the National League wildcard game. But this is a Colorado Rockies team that is honestly on the rise. And they needed to...
They really are.
Rocktober. But they needed help with the bullpen as well, and they got it with Shaw. And I know that we're going to get to it too, but they also brought back Jake McGee, which just helps them even more.
Yeah, absolutely. Rockies are shaping up to be in dangerous team in that NL West division. I'm not saying they're going to challenge the Dodgers.
Even the Giants, too.
Yeah, I'm not too sold on the Giants.
Yeah, neither am I.
They're whiffing on everyone. They couldn't get Stanton. They're not pulling the trigger on any trades.
They couldn't get Ohtani.
No, they couldn't get Ohtani. Manny Machado, I've heard nothing about with him. I'm not sold on the Giants. They're very quiet. Chris Russo's got to be very upset.
Oh, I'm sure he's very... Well, he's upset in two things today with Francesa and the Giants.
Yeah, hey, listen, if you are listening to us right now over Mike Francesa's final show, God bless you. There was a part of me, I'll tell you, I had a conversation with the program director, Sean, about not doing the show today. And at the end of the day, I decided against it because, you know, it's good to talk about sports. And in radio, you go up against big events all the time. But this is the end of an era, guys. He's been number one for 27 years.
Can I ask you something? Is Mike Francesa like your hero in terms of like what you want to be in terms of like in the radio career?
He's certainly one of them. I grew up listening to Mike and the Mad Dog. I was always partial to Mad Dog because we both have high-pitched voices. Obviously, I like Francesa because he's a Yankee fan. I tweeted this out, If I have half the career of Mike Francesa, I will be a very happy man. He's been number one for 27 years.
Number one.
Number one.
The Pope. And
Pope.
it's not by accident. The guy's a legend. Love him or hate him, the guy's a legend. I'm going to miss him. I was at his event at the Tilly Center.
How was that?
Very nice. They did a good job with it.
That's awesome.
They really did. But going back to baseball, Swarzak is a nice consolation prize to the Mets for not landing Shaw. They've got a nice 7-8-9 with Swarzak, Ramos, and Familia. Rockies have a nice bullpen. I like how all these relievers are getting these big deals because, be honest, the way baseball is going, bullpen is so important.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's looking to shorten the game. These starters could barely go 6 innings. You need a lockdown bullpen. But you know what? They're still not better than the Yankee bullpen.
At least not yet. Not yet.
No,
but I don't
definitely
even think they're going to be better than the Yankee bullpen for a while.
No, definitely not. Robertson is a free agent after next year. So when he goes, well, maybe not. Maybe Adam Warren or Chasen Sharif can fill that role.
Yeah.
They have Canely and Chapman for a long time.
They do. I always had a soft spot for Robertson because I really did think that before he went to the White Sox, I thought he was going to be the answer to losing Mariano Rivera.
He was for a year or two.
Yeah, he was, and I was very upset when he left the first time.
I was too.
I was very happy when the Yankees got him back.
Me too. But I did like Andrew Miller.
Yeah, that was a big hit.
Yeah,
too,
that was one of the biggest.
The Phillies signed Tommy Hunter to a 2-year deal worth $18 million. Last year for the Rays, he went 3-5 with a 2.61 ERA. What are your thoughts on the deal?
This works, too, because they also brought back Pat Neshek with a 2-year deal. And Hunter is 31 years old, and he posted a personal best. I have all the numbers here. In ERA with 2.61, WHIP with .97, strikeouts per 9 innings with almost 10 with 9.8.
That's such a useless stat for relievers, strikeouts per 9 innings.
Yeah, I know, but it sure helps your cause because when you're called in a big spot and you can strike the guy out, it adds to your resume, too.
No, I know. There are a lot of sabermetric people that like that stat for relievers. I personally don't.
Well, sometimes in terms of baseball, especially as of recently, sabermetrics have been really, been bought into by the baseball community, like depending who you are. And there's a lot of baseball traditionalists that don't like to use it.
You can include me in that group.
You know what? I don't blame you because sometimes you can't manage with the numbers because that's what Joe Girardi was guilty of for a while.
Yep.
Sometimes you have to manage with your gut, which is why I like Buck Showalter and Joe Madden and honestly Terry Francona.
Mike Scioscia, too.
Mike Scioscia, too, is a big one. But yeah, sometimes the numbers help, but you can't always rely on them. But honestly, I thought that it was a great move.
I agree with you 100%. I've always liked Tommy Big Game Hunter. I actually have an autographed baseball of him, Derek Holland, Chris Davis, and Ian Kinsler. It was for the Jimmy V auction that ESPN does once a year.
We're going to be talking about 3 of those people.
Yeah. How do you like that, huh? That's pretty good.
Full circle.
Yeah, exactly. The Marlins traded Marcell Ozuna to the Cardinals. We're going through these baseball stories really fast. So much to get to. Holy goodness.
There is.
For Magneuris Sierra, Sandy Alcantara, Zach Gallen, and Daniel Castano. Last year, Ozuna hit .312 with 37 home runs and 124 RBIs. And according to MLB.com, Sierra, Alcantara, and Gallen were St. Louis's 6th, 9th, and 13th best prospects, respectively. Who do you think won the trade?
I think the Cardinals, actually, because, they weren't able to get Stanton. So it's like, you know what? Let's go get Ozuna.
The second best.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, let's get the second Marlin outfielder.
And I think it just adds a lot to the team. So I feel like the Cardinals is just like a threat that you have to look out for because it's very interesting with all the baseball moves going on. It's almost like it's reminding me a lot of the NBA offseason, if you want me to be honest, with all the different names being swapped. Because this NBA offseason was one of the biggest changes in terms of with bigger names and just like a lot of just players in general, not just the bigger names. So I think that's always one thing you got to point out when it comes to off seasons is that you have to always look at how crazy they are because sometimes it can be really boring and it's just really not entertaining.
That's an interesting comparison.
I can get on board with that, but just speaking on terms with Ozuna, this is just another case where I feel like Derek Jeter got destroyed again because, again, this is a new owner in Jeter that has publicly came out and said, we wanted to shed these contracts, we want to rebuild, and I feel like
Marlins fans don't like him. Not yet.
I don't blame him.
I mean,
if I was a Marlin fan, I would hate Jeter.
Yeah.
Jeter and Sherman come in like a white knight, save the franchise from Jeffrey Loria, who was one of the worst owners in baseball, and now they're trading away everyone and their grandmother. They traded Gordon, they traded Stanton.
You think Yelich is gone next?
They might trade Yelich. I don't know.
For his sake, I'd hope so. I mean, he's a good player and he deserves to be on a better team.
He is wasting his talent in Miami.
The thing is, though, is that would you even say they really needed to like clean house?
A part of me says yes.
A little bit, but like...
It's kind of tough. I saw something on Twitter that had a picture of Jose Fernandez, and it said if this guy didn't die, the Marlins would be a good team. And that's
dark.
It's dark, but I think it's true.
There's some truth to that.
Yeah.
Losing a pitcher like Fernandez, the way they did, was so tragic, and it was such a shock to that team, such a shock to that community, that it definitely affected them. And I like that the Marlins retired his number. I don't think they'd be a great team if Fernandez, Stanton, Gordon, and Ozuna were still there, but they'd certainly be a hell of a lot better. It's just really unfortunate that the Marlins are doing another fire sale. The Mariners signed Juan Nicasio to a 2-year deal worth $17 million last year for the Pirates, Phillies, and Cardinals. He went 5-5 with a 2.61 ERA. What are your thoughts on the deal?
A lot of this, in terms of this deal, is that the Mariners needed bullpen help bad, and honestly, they got it. The 2.61 ERA is, it's good. It's not, great, but as long as you keep your
ERA...
Damn
good for a reliever.
Right. If you keep your ERA especially under 3 earned runs per game, and also 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, which is great for a reliever, too. I think that they got their bullpen help.
You and that stat again. You're going to drive me up a wall with that, Eric.
Sometimes it's a good thing to keep under your belt.
I hear you.
I know his three teams last year, though, doesn't seem too promising. So.
I know.
That's the only thing that's throwing off.
He was accumulating those frequent flyer miles, boyo. At least he ended up with the Cardinals last. I mean, they were a decent team, right? I know they didn't make the playoffs, but still a decent team. The Astros signed Joe Smith to a 2-year deal worth $15 million last year for the Blue Jays and Indians. He went 3-0 with a 3.33 ERA. What do you think of the deal?
Is Eric really on a sports show where he doesn't talk about veteran experience? 11 years in the league, former Met, and honestly, he's a sidearm reliever, which I really have a soft spot for because I think it's so cool to see. Because honestly, as a sidearm reliever, it really throws the batters off because you don't know where the ball is going, especially like from your traditional overhand, even like 3/4. So sidearm is so good for pitchers because I feel like the sidearm pitchers last a long time, and honestly, this veteran experience is just, especially to me, putting Joe Smith right on top of saying this is a good signing, and a good signing, and it's especially a good look for an AJ Hinch bullpen that honestly can really fare against right-handed batters,
especially with a young Astros team. I mean, obviously just coming off a World Series championship, but like it's still always good to help with the veteran presence. Is that something you really want? That's one thing. I agree with you, Eric.
The Astros bullpen faltered in the ALCS tremendously against the Yankees. They couldn't get anyone out, and even the World Series too. They weren't that great.
McCullers, that's all.
Yeah,
Charlie Martin.
Oh God. This is a good move for the Astros. It really is.
It is.
So the Tigers traded Ian Kinsler to the Angels for Troy Montgomery and Wilkel Hernandez last year. Kinsler hit .236 with 22 home runs and 52 RBIs. And according to MLB.com, Montgomery and Hernandez were LA's 20th and 24th best prospects, respectively. Who do you think won the trade?
Listen, the Tigers are a rebuilding team right now, and again, with the veteran experience, I'm going to bring that up again, but it deepens the Angels lineup. The Angels are going to be an interesting team to watch this year.
I was thinking the same exact thing, honestly, because, now with the signing of Ohtani and now acquiring Kinsler in the trade, it's just like...
And, of course, you still have Mike Trout.
Yeah, of course. You can't forget about him.
Cole Calhoun, who I like a lot.
Yeah, I like Calhoun, too. He's really good. So, on that note, we got to take a break. Don't go anywhere, because we'll have an exclusive interview with Scott Ferkovich coming up next. He's the author of Motor City Champs, Mickey Cochrane, and the 1934 to 1935 Detroit Tigers. But first, I got to tell you about a great show that we have on this station. It's called The Brighter Side. It's on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. NCC student, my pal, Sarah Albertson, talks with people who have done positive acts around the United States. Hear stories that'll brighten your day and show you the brighter side of the world. Eric, 2 cymbals and a drum just fell off a cliff, right?
Yeah, you like that?
I love that. I'm going to use that so much.
2 drums and a cymbal off a cliff.